History was made. Check out this time-lapse video we have of Democratic Senator Cory Booker from the Garden State of New Jersey delivering his record-breaking speech on the floor of the U.S. Senate. 25 hours and 4 minutes, the longest speech in the history of the U.S. Senate. Take a listen to what he said about the state of the Democratic Party right now.
I confess that I've been inadequate to the moment. I confess that the Democratic Party has made terrible mistakes that have given lane to this demagogue. I confess we all must look in the mirror and say we will do better. And it's not just defining ourselves what we're against.
And Senator Booker is joining me now. And for anybody watching at home, please understand we gave him a chair. He's sitting in a chair right now. The illusion is that he's standing. But for people who don't know, you had to stand the whole time. You couldn't take a bathroom break. The only break of any sort you got was if one of your colleagues would ask you a question to give your voice a break.
Yes.
How are you feeling? Physically and also emotionally, the longest speech in the history of the U.S. Senate.
Well, I'm physically not in the best shape, but I am emotionally just feeling really fed right now and grateful, and kind of just really grateful for a lot of the people who lent support to the effort, and obviously the constituents, the dozens and dozens of folks who gave me their stories, who gave me their hurt, their pain, their anger, their demands of me that I read, and their really humble offers that tell me what I can do. It was some very moving speeches, and then some of my colleagues came on the floor and just told them very emotional stories too that really sourced me through the whole challenge.
It was obviously a very emotional experience. Just one more question on the physicality of it, which is, you were a football star at Stanford University. You're 56 years old now, but you were a football star 20-something years ago. Was this more difficult than being a football star and taking some of those hits on the gridiron?
It was just different, my friend. It was just different. This was real, physical challenge. I had to think of a lot of strategic things to do in order to prepare for it. And then, and you're right, I'm a lot older than that football player, a lot less hair too. So it was a challenge, it was a trial, but I really felt lifted by the energy as Congress people started coming over, a lot of my CBC, Congressional Black Caucus friends. It just turned out to be, when the gallery started filling up, it was a lot of folks' energy that really carried me to try to do as I sort of framed the whole speech with John Lewis's demand to all of us. His spirit just talked a lot about doing good trouble and necessary trouble.
That was a very moving part of your speech. We should note the previous record was set rather ignominiously by then Democrat, eventually he became a Republican, Senator Strom Thurmond, who was filibustering the Civil Rights Act in 1957. You weren't filibustering anything. You were giving this speech, so not to block legislation, but I want to know, what do you say to somebody who says, well, why were you doing this? Other people have done it to block legislation. Ted Cruz did it to try to stop Obamacare. I think he was doing it in 2013, maybe. Your friend, Senator Chris Murphy, who was there with you the whole time, did it to try to get some anti-gun legislation votes. Tell us the purpose of this.
I think we're really at a point in America where things are happening that don't sit right with people of both sides of the aisle. I did everything I could to read from Republican governors, from the Cato Institute, from the Manhattan Institute, all talking about just the insanity of trying to pass a budget right now that's going to blow the biggest single precedent record for creating more debt, more deficit, giving tax cuts that are disproportionately going to go to the wealthiest Americans who don't need that tax cut. And then all the while gutting things like Medicaid. It just makes no sense. There's so many things going on by this president who is trashing our allies, bullying Canada, who is in many ways just violating judges' orders, trampling on our Article 1 powers. So I just wanted to give a speech that said that this is not normal and we can't normalize it. And all of us have a responsibility to do something different, to take some risks, to be there for each other and to try to ignite a larger movement in our country, the kind of movement that stopped Donald Trump for taking away the Affordable Care Act, and perhaps together, collectively, if we all speak out, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, to the absurdity of some of this, perhaps we can make changes and change some policies and get some other Republicans to change their votes to stop bad things from happening.
Just to play a little bit more of your speech, you did acknowledge Senator Strom Thurmond and his record-breaking until today, 24-hour, 18-minute speech to oppose the Civil Rights Act. Let's roll a little bit about what you had to say about Senator Thurmond.
To hate him is wrong. And maybe my ego got too caught up that if I stood here, maybe, just maybe I could break this record of the man who tried to stop the rights upon which I stand. I'm not here, though, because of his speech. I'm here despite his speech. I'm here because as powerful as he was, the people were more powerful.
Now, let me confess, you told me that you were going to try to do this. Now, you didn't say that you were going to make it to beat Strom Thurmond. You didn't even know if you were going to make it to the top 10. Chris Murphy, I guess, was number 10 in terms of the history books. I think Ted Cruz was maybe 6 or something like that, maybe 5. But in any case, did you think you were going to be able to achieve this? And how does it feel to know that you knocked him out of the history books on that issue?
Chris Murphy and I had a moment around the 15th hour when we were passing what we did together. I told Chris Murphy I wasn't going to sit down if he wasn't going to sit down. So I did everything that he did for me today to sort of, you have somebody running point for you, running interference for you. Chris was amazing today. And at the 15th hour, he came over to me and said, "How you feeling?" And I really at that point felt I could do it. I felt I could do it. And I will tell you, the reality is that I really felt the energy of a lot of folks. The gallery was filled. There were colleagues there. My cousin Pam, she stayed up in the gallery the entire 25 hours. So I was riding on some really great spiritual power from people around the country and from people that were there, and I feel really grateful for them. And then every time I read a constituent letter, folks just, when they write letters, sometimes they just really open up the most personal stories from their lives, share their fears, their worries, their anxieties, their demands, their anger. And reading those letters gave me a lot of strength too. So I'm just grateful right now, despite the fact that I'm in rough shape.
You'll be okay. I'm not worried. You'll bounce back. But before you go, what do you say to a person out there who is inspired by what you did today, making history, who says, "Well, I'm not a senator and I can't give a speech and I can't get on television interviews, but I do want to make a difference"? What do you tell that person, whether they are MAGA or progressive Democrat, whatever, but somebody who wants to make a difference?
Well, I hope that people listen to how I framed the speech. I really talked about a guy that many of us remember him as Congressman John Lewis, but he was a 21, 22-year-old guy when he went and started to become what we know now as one of the bravest people in the civil rights movement. So I love what Desmond Tutu says: do your little bits of good as often as you can, as much as you can, and with the confidence to know that if your little bits of goods combined with other little bits of good, it can overwhelm the world. And we need some energy now to begin to renew our dream, to redeem our dream in this country, because I think a lot of people are surrendering to cynicism about this country. And this country wasn't built by cynics. It was people under the most difficult of circumstances, like John Lewis, that loved this country even when it didn't love it back, but demanded from this country that it be better. And I think we need a lot more people with vision and determination and a little defiance to try to do what they can to make America live up to its hope for all of us. Don't shape your career or your efforts on what you're against and who you're against. Start talking about what America can be, what we're for, what we can do to heal and grow and be amazing together.
Senator Cory Booker, Democrat from the great state of New Jersey, congratulations again on this accomplishment. And please go get some rest. I would say get a beer, but I know you don't drink, but you deserve a beer. You deserve a beer, but maybe a non-alcoholic beer. Go have one.
Thanks, Ben. Thank you so much.
All right, Senator. Thanks so much for joining us.